her cries echoing through the room. My father's face was red with fury, his grip tightening around my arm. "Listen to me, Graham," he rasped. "Stop this nonsense, break things off with that woman outside. Nothing is more important than building a life with Clarissa. She's pregnant with your child. If you dare go through with this divorce, don't blame me for ruining your plans." I stared at him, unmoved. "This marriage is over," I said flatly, turning to leave behind me. I heard the final blow. "If you walk out that door and divorce her, don't ever call me your father again." Clarissa crossed her arms and sneered. "Graham, since you're so eager to leave, don't expect a single cent. I'll make sure you walk out of this with nothing. You found someone new, fine, but don't blame me for what comes next." I didn't hesitate. I filed for divorce that same day and submitted the surveillance footage from Milo's house as evidence. I planned to spend the night at a hotel, but every bank account I had access to was frozen for a decade. I'd worked myself to the bone, believing I was building a life for us. I thought we'd finally have the family we dreamed of, but it was all a lie with no choice. I borrowed money from a friend just to check into a hotel that night. I found a video. Our argument from the party had gone viral. It was now trending. The comment section was a mountain of hate. He divorced his pregnant wife just because she was helping the neighbor. What a monster. He's clearly cheating. Disgusting. Poor Clarissa, and she's pregnant too. Even the hotel staff began to look at me differently. I opened my laptop only to be hit by a far worse truth. Hundreds of surveillance clips played before me, recorded from the day. I accidentally tapped into Milo's home security system night after night after she tucked Sabrina into bed. Clarissa would sneak into his bedroom. Their intimacy was unmistakable. The look in her eyes when she gazed at him, tender, warm, adoring, was one I had never seen, but I knew better. I knew the coldness behind her smile after we married. She told me plainly. She didn't want children and warned me not to expect otherwise when she became pregnant by accident. I begged her to keep the baby. She refused it without hesitation. That moment shattered something in me. Since then, she'd never let me touch her again. And now, she was carrying another man's child. I stared at the prenatal report. The conception date was clear. I was on a business trip at the time. Just then, my lawyer called Mr. Graham Ashford. "The court date has been confirmed 3 days from now, the next morning." My secretary called in a panic. "Sir, the investors are pulling out. The backlash online is too intense." When I arrived at the office, Clarissa was already waiting. "Honey, don't go in yet," she whispered. "There are reporters everywhere." I didn't stop. She tried to block me, grabbed my arm. I walked on by her. She sank to the ground with a shocked gasp. They hadn't expected it. "Graham, how can you be so cruel?" Clarissa shrieked. "I'm carrying your child, and you can't even show me the slightest bit of compassion." Milo rushed over to help her up the confrontation. Drew, a crowd of reporters' cameras zoomed in on my face as insults flew. "Cold-hearted monster, selfish person." Clarissa turned toward the cameras, eyes brimming with tears. "Don't blame my husband. It's all my fault. I should have been more careful. Don't take it out on him." I nearly laughed out loud at her performance. I met her eyes. "Since you won't agree to a divorce, don't blame me for taking it to court." The mask dropped. Clarissa straightened and sneered. "Fine. You're shameless. Then don't blame me when I kick you out of the house." She raised her voice. "My child doesn't need a father like you. Divorce, let's do it. See you in court." I said nothing. I focused on tying up company matters and quietly prepared for the trial. By that evening, the internet was on fire. I was now the villain, a heartless man who had abandoned his pregnant wife. Clarissa had perfected her role as the fragile, betrayed woman. The abuse was relentless. Even my parents cut me off. "You've gone too far." My mother screamed. "From today on, I don't have a son. Look at what you've done." My father added, "You've shamed this entire family. I can't even bear to hear your name." I faced it all in silence. 3 days later, I arrived at the courthouse. The courtroom was packed. Friends, family, strangers, live streamers as I took my seat. Clarissa hissed, "Are you really going to go through with this for the sake of our years together? I'll give you one last chance. Apologize publicly and I'll let it go. You have zero chance of winning. The whole country knows what you did to me." Milo smirked from beside her. Even my parents refused to look at me, but I stayed calm. Clarissa had hired one of the top lawyers in Las Vegas. The man rattled off a list of my supposed offenses. "If this were merely a case of helping a neighbor babysit, it might be forgivable," the lawyer declared. "But given the evidence, it is clear. The defendant is solely at fault if no new evidence is presented. The judge announced this court will grant the divorce and assign full responsibility to the defendant. The room broke into applause. Clarissa and Milo hugged. I raised my hand. I do have new evidence. I said surveillance footage from Milo's home and a paternity test on the child Clarissa claims is mine. The courtroom fell into stunned silence.